Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
We've got quite the show today because Brad Garlinghouse was on Bloomberg, so we're going to start there. Let me make sure I've got the volume where it needs to be before I do this, okay? Right here, well, it doesn't want me to refresh here. Here we go.
Guys, we're going to get deeper into this conversation with RIPLE CEO himself, Brad Garlinghouse. Brad, good to have you back here on the show. You called this a victory in your battle against the SEC. What does it mean for you and also the broader crypto industry?
Yeah, I think I'll start there, really. I think it is a victory not just for Ripple, the company, but also the whole crypto industry, because the SEC, I think, has consistently tried to expand their reach and their control over the crypto industry. We've seen that not just with Ripple, but in other cases. And to have the executive order, as Shanali was talking about, the executive order came out and really said to all agencies, hey, we need to be coordinated. If we want the United States to be competitive in this key technology platform, we need to not have one group behaving one way and another group behaving another way. So we're really pleased by not just the court's decision, but also the executive order that came out last week.
What do you make of the very prominent role that crypto is playing in the war on Ukraine?
All right, now let's go to part two.
Used, for example, as a tool to circumvent sanctions by Russians.
You know, Emily, I think this is a bit of a red herring, meaning that there's a lot of attention around it that is like, what does this mean? But the practicality of using it to circumvent the sanctions, I think, is really difficult. And the reality is that if you just take the basic math, before the invasion of Ukraine, there's about $50 billion a day of Russian ruble cross-border FX trades. There's just not enough liquidity in the crypto market to really put much of a dent in that. Moreover, you know, the point at which sanctions are applied is at the endpoint. So through, you know, exchanges, a Bitstamp or a Binance. And I think you've seen globally that the major exchanges around the world say, hey, we're going to acknowledge, enforce, and respect those sanctions.
Okay, and then we have part three.
The idea that crypto is being used at any scale to circumvent sanctions is it doesn't really understand how some of this stuff works.
On one hand, you do have plenty of exchanges that seem to be working with the Biden administration to kind of figure out what's going on under the surface in the market. But on the other hand, when it comes to the SEC, it seems like they've been at the crosshairs of a number of different firms. Do you think the SEC is taking a tougher stance than the administration at large? And do you think that will hinder at all some of the progress that some firms are making?
Look, I think there's no question that the United States Securities and Exchange Commission has reduced the competitiveness of this critical industry in the United States. I think they've been out of step, not just with other parts of the U.S. government, but they've been out of step with other major economies around the world. The only country in the world that considers XRP, the digital asset that Ripple uses in our technology stack, the only country in the world that thinks XRP can be a security is the United States.
All right, and I think there's a part four. Here we go with that.
Successfully in the UK, in Switzerland, in Japan, in the UAE, in Singapore, all of these countries have acknowledged XRP as a currency because that's how it's used. So I think the way the U.S., if we want the U.S. to be a leader in this new, growing, critical, innovative industry, like the internet 20 years ago, we need that regulatory clarity. And the SEC is really just coming out and saying, we're going to file lawsuits, enforcement. We're not going to provide clear rules so that people know how to operate as other countries have done.
All right, Brad Garlinghouse, CEO.
All right, so now you need to be prepared to get very angry, folks. John Deaton, he interviewed this guy, Jeremy Kauffman, who is, I think he's the creator of Library. Now, this is a case that is going on right now at the same time the SEC. It's a smaller case, but it might be extremely significant. So in this interview, this guy is talking to John about how the SEC has treated him and how all this came about. And it's a real eye-opener. Listen to this.
when you read the Bill Hinman speech, do you think the things that he describes about sufficient decentralization and things of that nature apply to the library credit?
But honestly, I don't even like that. Well, I do. I think we need the standard. In fact, we went in and gave them a 25-slide presentation as to how we think we need the standard. They nodded their heads, gave us zero feedback, and then just proceeded with the lawsuit like we never even came in and gave the presentation. I mean, that's the part that is, I know that you want to analyze the letter of the law, but like outside the letter of the law, that's the part that's so agitating to me, and that's honestly been like, changed my whole attitude towards the government itself. Is like, these aren't people, like, maybe I did something wrong.
Folks, make no mistake, I've said it for months now. The plan was, and I've spelled it out, the plan was to get Bitcoin and Ethereum out from under securities laws and give Ethereum a monopoly on the issuance of tokens and DeFi, and then go after everyone else and keep everyone else in a regulatory purgatory, as Brad Garlinghouse said. That is what this was all about. That's the reason Gary Gensler won't go after anyone that's Ethereum based. He doesn't go after DeFi, doesn't go after tokenization. Joseph Lubin's been bragging about issuing tokens at will for over a year now. Have any of those been gone after?
I tried to understand law. It's a cutting edge field. Maybe I made a mistake. I'm not here saying I've never done anything wrong. It's like, but help me figure out how to follow it. Obviously, we built a technology that a lot of people want to use, that a lot of people are interested in. You know, and you're my own government, right? And it's like, okay, help me understand law. I'm paying these lawyers a ridiculous amount of money. I'm doing what they say. You're telling me they're wrong. Okay, how? What are the adjustments? You know, like, to me, a victory in this case is simply the government finally, after 5 years, having to finally give some information and tell me what I can and can't do.
All right, this is crazy. Now, Jeremy Hogan says it's crazy. This clip from John's interview with Library is insane. This is how a government entity acts nowadays, folks. This Ripple case, this Library case, this SEC problem is so much bigger than even crypto. What this is where the people drew the line. This is where the people said, you know what? The government has stopped answering to the people. They no longer answer to us. Now, the people are the targets of the government, even when they're trying to act in good faith. Now the people are targets of the government. That's what's really going on here. Listen to this clip.
Please explain that.
So first of all, the SEC conducts business the way the mafia does. They have everything on unrecorded phone calls, which is also really messed up, because I would love it to have had permission to record every conversation I have with these people, but you're not allowed to do that. What they said to us on the call, which our lawyers, by the way, are testifying this as well. This is not me. And they basically said, we could make this very expensive for you if you don't give us what we want. And you know, they know all the power they have. You know, this case has cost me well over $1 million, probably approaching $2 million in legal fees. I mean, it's cost me a crazy amount of money. And they know exactly what they're doing. They gave us, they sent us in one of their, like a request for something, like where a part of the subpoena, they asked us for literally every piece of data we have, all of it. They asked us for every database, every field, every property, like reaching into like view histories and stuff. We were able to get, we didn't have to give that over, to be clear. But they asked us for everything.
Unbelievable. And then there's this.
Yeah, this is something, a funny thing that happened when the SEC compelled me to give testimony, is they're asking about, they're asking me things like, so library wasn't done yet. And it's like, I actually asked them questions back, like, well, is Gmail done? Does Gmail have more people developing it now than in beta? Is Bitcoin done being developed? Is Ethereum, but obviously, I'm a fan of all this, by the way, so I'm never trying to drag these companies too hard, but Ethereum, they need to do it 2.0. So that says something about their initial version. They needed to.
Bingo.
If they have all these scaling issues, that doesn't to me say that was a dumb technology. It's arguable.
It's not. They're still building the infrastructure. And if you remember, when Charles Gasparino went to the SEC and asked them, what's the difference? Why aren't you suing Ethereum? They said that the Ethereum infrastructure had already been built out, but XRP had not. It was a lie. I told Charles Gasparino it was a lie. We proved it.
Has a lot of usability problems in its current iteration. Now I hope they solve all this, but that's not a technology that's done. I mean, these people have one of the things that I certainly continue to see in the interviews, that they have borderline no understanding of technology. I mean, it's like, seriously, like the amount of interaction I have with them, they don't understand it at all.
Wow. And then John Deaton comments on this clip right here. Recall from Brad Garlinghouse, David Schwartz meeting with Clayton and him. Frustrated, Brad yelled, "Ripple's living in purgatory because of the lack of clarity." Clayton tabled the issue and said, "Now tell us more about the technology. The meetings are precursors to sue." Let me hit the refresh on that.
Hey, come on in. Come on in. We heard Bill Hinman say, and Jay Clayton said, "Come in and we will work with you." I have to tell you, Jeremy, if someone such as yourself came to me today as a lawyer seeking advice, I would say, don't cooperate. Correct. That's my advice. I tell blockchain entrepreneurs, hide as much as you can do, obscure everything that you're doing, just hide as much as you can. And that's messed up, because that's what we did. We went in, we were maximally transparent.
Maybe you should disguise whales too, because apparently that keeps the SEC away from you if you disguise whales. Maybe the whales are their friends or something.
We said, here's the spreadsheet that you can download of literally line by line of everything we're doing with our money. And all I did was get punished for it. No, there's no sense in which by being a good guy, you're going to avoid it. The SEC, they're lazy. They are lazy people. They don't care about catching bad guys. They care about catching people that they personally dislike or that are easy for them to catch. Okay, I mean, you can look at some of the actors in this space that have been, clearly selling stuff that's crap, and the SEC doesn't even go after them.
Exactly. Eleanor Terrett watched this video. Lots of things stood out to me in this interview, but here's what resonated the most. I tell blockchain entrepreneurs to obscure everything you're doing. Hide as much as you can. There's no sense in which by being a good guy, you're going to avoid it. It's crazy to me that this kind of sentiment SEC has fostered among blockchain entrepreneurs, that even if you play by the rules, you're still going to get dinged because there actually are no rules. This is certainly a case to pay attention to. She's exactly right. No, what's really going on here, folks, is we now have a government that is conducting itself almost like a dictatorship. Almost like they don't want innovation in the United States of America. Almost like the government wants to control everything that's done and everything you do, and not let this country be the country it can be, and not to let it lead the way worldwide in innovation and other things. This is one flew over the cuckoo's nest crazy what's going on in this country. I am shocked that we don't have one freaking congressman in this country who has raised their hand, grown a set, and said, listen, enough of this SEC BS. Enough of this. Gary, you sit in front of us and you're going to give us answers. At what point does one congressman actually grow a set and get angry and pissed off like they should be as a representative of the people of this country? This is insane what's going on. It's not about the Ripple case. This is much bigger. This is about corruption, folks, in our government. This is sick what's going on. Somebody's got to do something about it. It can't just be people in social media that are pointing out things and then the Congress just, oh, we're going to pass legislation. No. This is way beyond legislation. Way beyond legislation. This is about catching the bad guys, and the bad guys aren't the people that are trying to start crypto companies. All right. John Deaton, he makes a very good point. He said, compare this. This is one clip of his interview that we've already played. And then with this, and he's comparing it to Joseph Lubin disguising whales. They've done nothing to go after this. Okay. Ripple had tweeted this out yesterday. We're excited to publish a paper for Korean policymakers with GBC Korea and Oxford Metrica on how to further develop the region's blockchain landscape with smart regulation. Together, we're fostering innovation to achieve a world with without economic borders. Brooks Entwistle of Ripple, he says, we've seen great progress towards digital assets regulation in APAC, but it remains uneven in this diverse region. Our hope is Ripple policy proposals will provide legal clarity to industry, policymakers, regulators around digital assets innovation in Korea. Then we had this from James Phelan. SEC files letter claiming Judge Torres' ruling on the motions to dismiss makes SEC's internal documents, including Hinman emails and Estabrook notes, irrelevant, and that the SEC should not have to disclose them. So once again, they don't want to show these Hinman emails and now the Estabrook notes. John Deaton weighed in on that. More evidence that this motion is the biggest one in the case. Like I said, what is the likelihood that one person in a 63 email chain in 2018, while XRP and Ethereum were battling for the number 2 spot, replied, "What about XRP?" We will never see those 63 emails, folks. This is where there's something in those emails, and I think it's far worse than even what John Deaton's saying here. I think that there's something in those emails that brings this whole this Ethereum house of cards down. And I do mean house of cards. And speaking of, Michelle Korver, she tweeted this out. After 27 years in government and law enforcement, and most recently as the chief digital currency advisor at FinCEN, I'm joining A16. She's going to Andreessen Horowitz. Crypto as the head of regulatory. I'm not going to read her whole thread, but I will show you what I retweeted. I retweeted her tweet and I said, well, she may want to advise them on Ethereum ICO disguised whales first. The reason is that she's talking about how important Web3. It's clear to me that Web3 and its underlying crypto technology can solve critical challenges of national importance. Well, here's my news for you, Michelle. Web3, the way it's referred to by the people at Andreessen Horowitz, refers to Ethereum because all of it's built on Ethereum. And so the elephant in the room that nobody seems to want to talk about is that two things. The Ethereum free pass you're going to need to address with these guys, and the fact that in the Ethereum ICO, Joseph Lubin helped to disguise the whales, and nobody to this day knows who the purchasers, those disguised whales were. But the good news here, Michelle, is it's easy to find. Since you're in charge of you're head of their regulatory group, regulatory for A16Z, it's going to be so easy for you to find. All you have to do is get with a company like, I think Chainalysis does this. Go, and I think it's all public. Go and find those Ethereum addresses of the disguised whale purchasers, and you will be able to track it right back to all of these individuals, especially the way that the KYC works on all these exchanges now. You'll be able to track it right back to all of them. You can get to the bottom of it, and you'll do A16Z a favor, because I'm sure they want to know who all those disguised whales were, right?
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below, and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.